Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem, Rakakwadash. And I want to give double honor to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to those who elect hearing this word in truth and in sincerity. All right. I'm the brother Awalum from the GMS West Palm Beach Camp. I'm back with another lesson. And I was meditating upon, a lesson to do, and this came to mind where I was thinking, what makes these times so intriguing, and pretty much through the spirit I want to do a lesson on it because, what makes these times so intriguing, and so interesting is because that thinking about, when I first came, when the Lord first brought me into the truth, there were videos up, the apostles, old videos, right, of the apostles and the men before them that were laboring. There were videos of them teaching and going into the things happening right now, concerning World War III, concerning, the famines, the plagues. I remember watching a video of Elder High Priest Ariel, when he used to, be out there roaring in New York, you know what I'm saying? And he used to bring out a lot of things, and now that we see, we see these things happening right now, man, before our very eyes, and that's proof that these are the men of the Lord. So let's go to the book of Jeremiah, chapter 28, okay? Because what we see happening right now, although it's a mystery to most people, it's really not a mystery to us, man, because, we've been given the scoop through the Spirit about what was to come, you see? But there's Jeremiah 28 and verse 8. It says, "The prophets that have been before me and before thee of old prophesied both against many countries and against great kingdoms of war and of evil and of pestilence." You see? So the prophets of old, they prophesied of the downfall of different kingdoms. They spoke the words of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, and the Lord made it good. Because these are the men that he sent, to speak his words. Okay? Verse 9 said, "The prophet which prophesied of peace, when the word of the prophet shall come to pass, then shall the prophet be known that the Lord hath truly sent him." So pretty much, whatever, the prophet is prophesying of, if it comes to pass, then it's going to be known if the Lord sent him. And the point I want to make with the scripture is, in these last days, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai is making it known who he's dealing with, all right? Which men he's dealing with, because you got all kinds of false prophets out there, man. You got all manner of men out there, coming as if they're anointed of the Most High, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, acting like as if they have the answer, all right, given by the Lord. But in reality, you have a lot of men out here which are false prophets, which are set up to deceive. And of course, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai on the left-hand side have set them up to deceive, are those that he does not want, and those that he do not want will die in a nuclear war, will die in a nuclear fire, man, and that's the straight cut truth. And that's why in the book of 2nd Esdras, it likens to the elect as a drop, all right, and a wave in these people to a wave, all right, because the elect, are a small number compared to the majority of people out here, man. All right. You see, let's go to Malachi chapter. Yeah, man, because I don't even think those videos are up no more, because Esau took him down. The devil took him down. But at the end of the day, once again, that was the will of the Lord for it to come down, because the prophecy of the famine of the word got to come to pass anyway. You see what I mean? So let's go to Malachi chapter 3 and verse 16, right? And it says, then they that fear the Lord spake often one to another, and the Lord hearkened and heard it, and a book of remembrance was written before him for them that feared the Lord and that thought upon his name. Right? That's the elect. That thought upon his name and feared him. The elect. You know, that the Lord is bringing back in these last days to pretty much, testify of him. Beginning with the 144. And then you got the large multitude. But the elect, although it's written in the book of Revelation that it's an innumerable multitude, all right, is a small number compared to, the rest of these people in the world. Because you got all kinds of people, according to Bible prophecy, that are going to die out here, man. 2/3 of, you so-called blacks, Latinos, Native Americans here in America, which you are the Israelites. All right, and then you got the rest of the heathen. You got the heathen nations, the so-called white people, Chinese, which in the Bible are Edomites, Moabites, you got the Ammonites, so on and so forth, man. You see? These people are considered a wave compared to the number of the elect, man. All right, so what makes this thing so intriguing is that everything that was being spoken of, is happening in real time, and we're living it, man. It sort of feels like, you're in a real life movie. Whereas, you know where the movie's going. You know where the movie's going, but then kind of at the end there's a twist, because at the end of the day, we don't know when Yahweh Shai is really going to return, because the scripture says no man know the day nor the hour, but we know we're in a time of his return, if that makes sense. Because the Lord didn't give us an exact date and time to where he would send his son to return and deliver us, but he gave us prophecy to measure the times to understand that Yahweh Shai, would be on his way. And it's not wrong to desire the time of Yahweh Shai's return, because his disciples desired it, right? Matthew chapter 24. And you also got it in Mark. I want to get it in Mark, actually. Mark the 13th chapter. Mark chapter 13. Mark chapter 13 and verse 3. And it says the same thing in Matthew. And these are just different accounts of the disciples. But nonetheless, I wanted to read the one in Mark. It says 13 and 3. And as he sat upon the Mount of Olives over against the temple, Peter and James and John and Andrew asked him privately. See, in Matthew, it says his disciples. It doesn't really, list out the names. It just says his disciples in Matthew 24. But right here, it's being more specific as to who came and asked him, you see. And that's why, I like to go to different books, to get the little details. It's good to do that sometimes, to go in different books to get the little details of what the scriptures is talking about. It says, verse 4, tell us when these things shall be, what shall be the sign when all these things shall be fulfilled. See, so they were looking for the release date, right? They were looking for the time of, when Yahweh Shai will return and deliver us out of this captivity. You see? Salakia. So, going back to the point that I made, we're excited to see these things happening, despite the turmoil going on around the world. Because at the end of the day, the turmoil happening from the tiny tops and, the Elamites and Ishmaelites and all that stuff, that has nothing concerning us, besides prophecy. That goes into, Joel, the 3rd chapter, where it talks about the Lord's going to gather, the heathen in the valley of Yahweh Shaphat, which is Yahweh's judgment. It says, verse 5, And Yahweh shall answering them begin to say, take heed, lest any man deceive you. For many shall come in my name, saying, I am the anointed, and shall deceive many. You see? You have that going on right now. You see, and that's what makes this thing so intriguing right now, is because that throughout all the years, you have false prophets, who made a living off of teaching false things, man. They were making money. They were making, getting fame off of what they were saying, because you have simple people out here. But now, the Lord is making it clear as to who's a false prophet now, man. Because now, if they're not going into the Bible prophecies, if they're not breaking down, what's going on around the world, they're not going into these things, then they're not a man of the Lord. Here it is, the MOTB is getting ready to be passed, It's here, but Esau Edom needs a way to, get it into play, get it into system, But it's here, and nobody but our apostles and our elders of Great Millstone and the like-minded brethren, are the ones talking about it. You see? So the Lord is going to make it completely difficult, right? Yahweh Shah is going to make it difficult for false prophets to lie. That's another lesson, right? The Lord is going to make it difficult for false prophets to lie, Because before, truth was heavily easy to access like that. It was easy for a false prophet to lie, because people weren't really going into things themselves. They weren't even doing the research themselves, So it was easy. They were going to their pastors for answers, going to their leaders for answers, and their leaders would just tell them anything, they eat it up. But now, people are going into things. You got ChatGPT, which is giving people answers. And although people, not doing their own research, they'll go into ChatGPT and, type in certain things and then get an answer and then look it up themselves. Why? Because in the book of Daniel, it says that wisdom shall increase, So with the use of AI, you can say that, people are getting more information, and that's crazy, because I was thinking that AI has made people dumber, which in fact it has. Technology has made people dumber because people don't think for themselves, but in turn, they search things up and get more information out of AI, therefore, making them know more things about the information they're getting to it, man. But nonetheless, going back to the point, people are going into the information themselves, and now it's hard for a false prophet to lie. Okay? And verse 6 says, for many, so if you're falling for the deception now, these people out here, you a fool, man. Yahweh Shemiah Shai got you blinded. It says, verse 6, for many shall come in my name, saying, I am the anointed. We don't say Christ, we say Hamashiach, which means anointed. I am the anointed, and shall deceive many. And when ye shall hear of wars and of rumors of wars, be ye not troubled, for such things must needs be, but the end shall not be yet. So, when I used to watch those videos of the apostles, I used to, watch it, and of course, do my research, and the things that happened in the past, I'm like, wow, that adds up, that adds up to what the scriptures are saying, and then up until this point, you see, you are seeing different pockets of things happen, and you're like, whoa, especially the thing where, Russia invaded Ukraine, I saw that, man, I was like, whoa, because, that invasion of Ukraine, it led to something different. See, these little things that happen here and there, and it seems to go away. All right, that was just leading to something different. It just seemed like it died down for a little bit, but these rumors of wars, all right, is leading to, other things, man. And call Allah Yahweh Shemiah Shah. Because at the end of the day, these little pockets or skirmishes, back in the day, if I may give an example, back in the day, they used to do what they call slap boxing, where, they'll pretend that they're boxing, but they're using their the palm of their hands to strike each other in the face. But, if emotions are not in check, and the ego is too big, the slap boxing turns into fists. It turns into real fighting. It turns into beef, if you know what I'm saying. You know? So that's why back in middle school, they banned slap boxing stuff. So if you were slap boxing, you get in trouble because it was understood that slap boxing led to real fighting. So what you see happening right now, it's pretty much a skirmish, the little slap boxing going on. And although we know it's a serious war out there, but the point is that the slap boxing going on around, the skirmishes going on around, is going to turn to something bigger. All right, that's going to be stopped when Yahweh Shai come back. You know, and rightfully so. You know, so, you know, I just want to go into, like, how intriguing it was, man. You know, how, you know, I'm not going to say mind-breaking as if, you know, we didn't know what's happening out here. But intriguing that the things happening today, you know, in my experience, of course, you know, I heard and watched on old videos of our apostles and elders and the teachers before them. You know, Elder High Priest Ariel, you know, King Masha, the things that they were saying, and the Elder Apostle Tar, and the old class sit-downs that they used to do. You know, Elder Apostle Gabar, Ramla, watching those videos, you know, and seeing them, Salakia, seeing these things play out right now, you know, that's more of a faith booster to me, you know, in the spirit, man, because, you know, if those things are happening through the spirit and probably Yahweh Shem Shai, you know, the rest of the things that, you know, I came up prophesying through the spirit, you know, that's going to come to pass and call out Yahweh Shem Shai. All right, for the true leaders, the true leadership, you know, and the right men, you know, to teach this word, men that have not sold out, you know, to Esau, because as you can see, you know, men are selling out for the bag, man. You know, men are selling out to pretty much, you know, live the life of a Babylonian, seeing that this place is going down. All right, so Lord willing, this lesson was edifying. I would like to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem, Rakakodash. I want to give double honor to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to those who elect you in this word and truth and in sincerity. Until next time, I say shalom.